Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for spending your valuable time with the Adapt 2030 channel. Many have asked, have we peaked on this solar cycle? La Nina, incredibly intense. If it goes to the fourth La Nina, it will be the only time ever in recorded history it has. Looking back at the aerosol spread after the Tonga eruption, lo and behold, the bottom of our planet is cooling. Check out the lightning inbound. New Zealand. Ukraine tells people not to panic. Life-threatening lack of energy and cold. Chills on the way all the way to Spain and Portugal. Record amounts of gold and silver sold Perth Mint. But popping up, fake gold bars. You're going to have to put in that extra mile to be able to grow your own food. But at the World Cup, disguise is everything. And we're going to start off here with La Nina, sending massive drought to Argentina, causing 50% loss in their agriculture. Brazil's out on the market looking for grains that Argentina cannot supply. This is supposed to alleviate by March and just disappear into neutral water and then flip into El Nino, warmer waters. And whether we're looking at NOAA here in the US or Environment Canada, it still shows incredible cool. This is the third La Nina in a row. If it goes to the fourth La Nina in a row, it will be the first time in recorded history that we have done such. To be seen. Also, at the same time, have we peaked on this present solar cycle is the question. If yes, we are definitely heading into solar-driven cooling. And there's definitely a correlation between stepping down solar activity and larger volcanic eruptions on the 400-year cycle. I've been covering this since January, stratospheric aerosol depths. This is the Tonga eruption sending water vapor into the atmosphere. And you can see the spread from January 15th, which was the date of the eruption, 2022, and it continued to May. And anything after that was very difficult to come by. But recently, there's been some backdating on the data, and lo and behold, what do we find here? July 2022, 10 millibar temperatures, and what is that blue that we see on the bottom part of our planet? Now, these are Kelvin degrees, not Celsius or Fahrenheit. So if we want to take that over to the departure from 1991 to 2020, and before we start, just a quick word from our sponsor. Wall Street's fear gauge is flashing a warning that stocks could fall off a cliff. Billionaire economists agree on two things. We're heading towards a lost decade for the stock market, and investors need to buy gold. Call the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. 888-546-7020. Your IRA can be in physical gold or silver, and you may qualify for the no fee for life IRA. 888-546-7020. And now on with the video. We first have to look at the comparison table, Celsius, Fahrenheit, and Kelvin. What we're looking at is where water freezes. 0 degrees Celsius, 32 Fahrenheit, or 273.15 Kelvin. So it's just a way for us to see temperatures dropping or rising, and you can use this if it drops 10 and we go from 273 to 263 down that scale. It's the same thing as dropping the temperature in Fahrenheit or dropping the temperature in Celsius. So what does that mean as we look at all this blue across the bottom of our planet? Record cold November temperatures as well in Antarctica right now. When you see all that blue, it will be expanding and heading further northward. Just have to see which types of crops are grown in which countries, and then you can start to get a total of what you're going to need to subtract out of total tonnage coming out of the southern hemisphere. Okay, simple math. What's been happening, though, in the northern hemisphere? This is what traders look at. They just say, well, we're going to see, let's just see what happens, and we'll wait for the southern hemisphere totals and see how that'll push prices. Well, so far in the United States, we were down significantly on the corn and the wheat due to drought. Europe also had a massive drought. They're down about 30% totally for their grain. Then we see Ukraine down, juggling numbers everywhere, here, there, and everywhere. How much is truly coming out? So as we look around the planet, the Northern Hemisphere was none too kind this year to anybody trading grains, and you saw the price rises for food. I hope you do really take a look this Thanksgiving to see what your food prices are compared to last Thanksgiving. And if you can remember that, or if you jotted it down from last year or the year prior, especially from, say, 2020 to now, you're going to see a 3x increase in most of the prices for your foods. Now, the traders, they generally just say, hey, let's wait and see what happens, Southern Hemisphere, and then we'll figure it out, and then, prices will move based on that. Well, what I'm showing you right there, and what others are starting to know, is that there's going to be substantial losses in the Southern Hemisphere. Substantial. 40%, that's a conservative estimate based on delayed planting, lack of fertilizers, and now this cooling that's inbound. So as we wrap this into a package, next year through this harvest season, which is just completing right now here in the U.S. and Northern Hemisphere, but as they get into what would be the planting numbers right away, I'm talking like in the first weeks of December, literally less than 3 weeks from now, we're going to start to see some massive price movements once they realize what's not being planted. And from there, the price is going to increase again. 2023, food prices are definitely moving double again, perhaps triple in some places. So you might want to prepare accordingly. Speaking of that, take a look how this polar jet is bent up, colliding with subtropical jet, extreme cold air funneled over New Zealand and southern parts of Tasmania, New South Wales, and Victoria. That's why you see a lot of low temperatures on their charts. Check this out, the lightning map coming into New Zealand on that storm. Everywhere you see a white line, that is a lightning strike. Seems like it's following some current flow in the Earth's crust as it heads in North Island there. But if we do want to overlay rainfall and the inbound lightning front, this is an interesting one. That white that you see accompanying the lower layers is the lightning on top of the rainfall. Electrical front is what that is. And we'll stay here on the U.S. Drought Monitor. So where you see the dark reds and reds, that's exceptional drought, extreme drought. But notice where that lines up right through the Midwest and central grow belt of the United States for the grains. And even when we get up to the northern border with Canada, that's another grain belt. And as we look into California, that is a massive agricultural area. So I see -1, -2, -3 on this chart here. And swinging you over into temperatures just a couple of days ago, everybody was experiencing extreme cold in the United States. I have not seen a map like this with so much cold covering the United States. Although I will say, I think it was 2015, there was one episode where every state in the United States had below freezing temperatures, including Hawaii, because it was on Mauna Kea and it got below freezing there. Otherwise, this is a rare one you're looking at here. Extremely rare. Okay, that was our turn to get frozen out. Now comes Europe's time. Super freeze inbound. Look where that tongue of cold extends all the way down into southern Spain and northern Portugal. Not normal for this time of the year. I could expect that in middle January. But again, this cold that was hitting the United States is not normal either. Mid-January temperatures in November, something's definitely flipped the switch. Then we have Ukraine telling people not to panic, even though the World Health Organization warns of life-threatening winter. So what does that mean really? No power, no heat in the homes, and then you get regular winter temperatures that are hovering in the high teens or middle 20s, low 20s for months on end. And if there's any more attacks that occur and take out any more electrical infrastructure, then they're looking for 2 to 3 million people to leave their homes in search of warmth and safety. That's massive in terms of population migration. But again, grand solar minimum, fingerprint, population migration, economic collapse, government restructure. And also France talking about the same thing. National Energy Grid Chief says energy shortages and rationing likely this winter. Now, what are the possibilities in 2022? Europe, complete closure of all businesses to reroute power and natural gas into the homes of people so they don't riot on the streets. Yet at the same time, there's not enough in Europe for all the people, even though they've closed business. So another snapshot to look for, I was talking about the grains earlier. Europe lost about, I'm going to say 30, 35% of the total grains. We'll find out later in December, if at all. But the numbers that are public right now are 25 to 30%. I would say eke a little bit higher on that. But what's going to happen with the industry? Amazing amounts of fertilizer are produced in Europe. Chemical factories have all shut. Anything smelting, gone. Like they really had to shut down all industry in Europe to provide for the citizens to make sure they had enough heat for this coming winter. So anyway you look at it, coming into our planting season, Northern Hemisphere this next year is going to be a bit dicey for pricing. I've already seen some doubling and tripling forward contract prices for things used for farm inputs, DAP, potash, urea, these sort of things. What's happening now in the Southern Hemisphere is immediate happening right now. Their prices are the same. They can't get them inbound. So the countries that used to buy from Europe are having trouble bringing fertilizers in. And again, they did buy, but there was a shortage all the way through the buying period for the Southern Hemisphere. It's just becoming a Rubik's Cube of mess. So every time you take the next twist, it's worse than the last twist. And nasty, nasty, bad, OMG is kind of where that Rubik's Cube is going to end up as we move into the planting season for our Northern Hemisphere. We're going to go through this Southern Hemisphere, and it's something we really have not seen in hundreds of years that's coalescing into a large package here. So again, prepare yourself accordingly. A little bit of talk of gold here. Perth Mint reports all-time record ounces sold for gold and silver, which would make sense. People want to preserve their wealth. Spike continues through October. November, December, spike continues as well. Take a look at Uzbekistan, also buying massive amounts of gold. One of the world's top gold buying central banks. They're far from satiated. Yeah, they're going to keep on buying. So is China. Beware out there. Make sure you go with somebody reputable, because there are some fake bars that are making their appearance out there. This is one from Europe. Well-known company, but fakes are abounding. So make sure, like I say, you use somebody reputable. Patriot Gold Group would be one of those. Because when we move through this transition, you're going to have to put in that extra work to get your food, provide for your families, but in all good things. Leave it to English disguises for the World Cup. Nothing will hold them back. You should have that same attitude. Nothing will hold you back. Whatever you need to do to make it through this transition so you can thrive, live in abundance, you got to disguise yourself as well as we move through. So there's a lot of lessons from what's being shown in our normal world right now. Look to the past to see the future, but take little snippets of how people are actually overcoming obstacles as we speak. I do thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. If you are looking for storable foods, My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030 3-month emergency food supply. That link's in the description box below, along with the links for tonight's storage, images, graphics, so you can do your own research, which I encourage. As well, Thursday night, 10 p.m. to midnight, Ransom Godwin and myself, Revolution Radio. I'll put the links for the 8 streaming platforms that we will be on in the community tab of the Adapt 2030 channel. Thursday night, about 8:30 to 8:45, so you can join us there if you want uncensored content for 2 hours in a row. Happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you next time.